On the morning of November 11th, Tuesday, November 11th, Brandon Milburn and his girlfriend, Shatika Hickson, got in an altercation in the 5100 block of Brookdale Drive. That's in Oklahoma City. And during this altercation, Brandon shot and killed Shatika. He left the scene with their 14-month-old child, and we issued an Amber Alert shortly thereafter. Shatika's body was discovered by the homeowner after they returned home, and police were called, and we responded to the scene at 12:06 that afternoon. After Brandon left the scene, he took the child to a family member in South Oklahoma City. And as soon as that family member realized they were in possession of a child that was the subject of an Amber Alert, they took that child to the Love County Sheriff's Office, where OHP assisted them, and the child has since been placed in protective custody. The child was not harmed, and we believe that she was never in danger of any kind. Following the homicide on Brookdale at approximately 10:40 that morning, Brandon stole a white pickup truck that belonged to a local business. And that happened in the area of Southwest 119th and May Avenue. The business, they called 911 to report the car stolen, but it was also equipped with a GPS tracker. The employee from the business actually tracked the vehicle down and located that vehicle in the 2500 block of Southwest 95th. The vehicle was stationary and it was unoccupied. When the employee approached the vehicle, this white pickup truck, Brandon appeared from behind the trees and opened fire on the employee. The employee was struck while he was still in his vehicle. He was able to drive down the road, where he subsequently crashed into a tree and died from the gunshot wounds. That victim was identified as 34-year-old Stephen Christopher Husky. So Brandon left that scene on 95th in the stolen white pickup truck, and he went to the area of Southwest 104th and May Avenue, where he abandoned that vehicle. At approximately 11:30, he robbed a juvenile at gunpoint of his vehicle, which was a gold Toyota Avalon. He abandoned that stolen vehicle in the area of Southwest 122nd and South May. So officers arrived in that area, we canvassed the area, and Brandon was not located. We spent the rest of the day running down tips, investigating, trying to develop information to locate Brandon. We received information that he was potentially driving a silver Toyota Prius, and we had a couple of tag numbers, one of which was the subject of the Amber Alert. On November 11th, at approximately 4:07 in the morning, officers, they were aware that Brandon was in Southwest Oklahoma City, or potentially. They observed a silver Prius in the area of 104th and South May Avenue. They attempted to stop Brandon on traffic, and Brandon initiated a pursuit. That pursuit traveled through South Oklahoma City to downtown, where the conclusion of the pursuit was at Couch Drive and Lee Avenue. Brandon began shooting at responding officers, which caused an exchange of gunfire, and Brandon was ultimately shot and killed. Officer Zach Barbie, a 1.5-year veteran of the police department, was struck by gunfire, but his ballistic vest stopped the bullet from causing significant serious injury. Officer Barbie was eventually transported to a local hospital, and he has since been released. There was relatives out of state, and they were trying to get that child in the hands of caring relatives, and they were in transit. And so Love County, I believe, the way I understand it, was the closest area, the closest police department or sheriff's office they could go to.
So they left their home in Southwest Oklahoma City and drove to Love County?
They were driving south, I believe, to Texas, because there's family members in Texas that were willing to care for the child. And they were in transit, and when they realized they were the subject of the Amber Alert, they immediately stopped. They just happened to be in Love County, and they just went to the local sheriff's office. They were trying to do the right thing.
The relatives didn't know what Brandon had done before this, right? He didn't tell them what was going on?
We don't have any information as to what they knew. They knew that they had the child, and then they knew that eventually that was the subject of an Amber Alert.
Was there a history of abuse between the two, Brandon and Shatika?
I'm not familiar with any of their previous history.
Was Shatika pregnant?
Yes, that was actually kind of what we were waiting on. We did learn Shatika was 9 weeks pregnant, And so we rely on the ME, the medical examiner, to determine if that's going to be classified as a homicide. So right now, we don't think that's going to be the case, but that's subject to change, and we'll update you if that does change.
How hard was this for all of the officers involved to know that this one person was connected to all these multiple different crimes and scenes?
You know, it's what we do. So, you know, that's kind of when the best comes out. That's when our officers are kind of at their best. They know how to deal with these things. And, you know, really they should be commended for the effort that they put in. There was even a time, I think you guys were aware of that in Southeast Oklahoma City, where we thought Brandon was out there. We were never able to confirm that, but we were out there with that. And so the officers never rested. I mean, they thought he was going to be in South Oklahoma City, and there was a bunch of officers over there trying to find him. So they spent the better part of that day, trying to locate Brandon because they knew that he was a problem and extremely dangerous.
Did you all have information that he might harm more people besides what happened, the two homicides?
We did not have information that led us to believe that he was going to harm more people. But the potential was definitely there, especially when you see what he did to the homicide victim there on 95th Street. That person was not related to him. He didn't know Brandon, and he was the victim of a homicide at Brandon's hands.
How many shots were fired between Brandon and the officer?
Right now, that's still trying to be determined. So we have to figure out which rounds came from where. But it was a significant exchange of gunfire.
Shatika's family tells us that Shatika apparently called police prior to the incident happening. Do you know anything about that? If there was a call made that she was in fear for her life, or that she feared?
You know, I know we responded to a call prior to us finding her at noon, but the address that we had was over on the north side. And so I don't know if that was a previous address. I haven't been given the information if Shatika was the one that made the phone call. If that's a possibility. But I think early on we attempted to intervene in that situation. We just didn't have the correct address.
We also heard that she was beaten first and then shot. Do you know that?
I do not know that.
Was the weapon used against Shatika and the officer the same weapon, and was it legally obtained?
I don't have an answer to either of those questions.
We asked this yesterday when you were able to, when the pursuit started, was that because you identified the car from the Amber Alert?
Correct. The officers identified the silver Toyota Prius in the area of 104th and May, and they engaged that. I spoke to one officer that he positively identified Brandon as early in the pursuit as the occupant of the driver.
Did he change the license plate on that Toyota Prius?
I believe that the license plate that was eventually on it was different than the one in the Amber Alert, which leads me to believe that he did change the license plate.
I mean, it almost sounds like everything was very calculated on his end. Is that?
I mean, that you can make that assumption, I guess.
So how did he end up back in the Prius?
You know, that's something we don't know because he's not here to ask. That's a question that we did ask, and we really don't know. We assume he knew that we probably would identify the Prius, which probably is why maybe he stole some of the other cars. But really, we don't have a definitive answer on that.
And the child was already given to relatives before all the projections started, right?
Correct.
Were any officers in the shooting wearing body cams?
All of them but one. So there's 9 officers involved in the shooting. One of them was a supervisor, which is they're not required to wear a body cam. So of the 9 officers, 8 of them will wear a body cam.
Even though this is all said and done, will those body cams be released?
We typically release body cams from Officer College.